LaMelo Ball gets benched, but that does not stop him from rising up the rankings in some publications' eyes. We'll get to LaMelo Ball's ranking plus a preview tonight against Detroit. All today, Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free. We're available anywhere you get your pods, and that includes YouTube. There's Doug Branson. You can find him on his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. He's now hosting Locked On NBA these days, and he's also creating the newsletter. That's right. Your favorite podcast has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Hornets Daily newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. You can sign up for free right now at lockedondaily.com. That's lockedondaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Hornets newsletter. I'm Walker Mehl. You can catch me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Wes and Walker, Sports Radio 92.7 FM. This episode is brought to you by, let me get it right, brought to you by Game Time. Game Time?
I didn't even try.
Game Time?
I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm trying to figure the sound out. I'm trying to figure all of this out. I got too much going on.
Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Again, download the Game Time app today, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA. Doug, LaMelo, he gets benched. We talked a lot about it. It's been a national NBA topic, which interesting how much it got going on ESPN. Lots of pods are talking about it. So we move on to some degree. We'll see what happens tonight against Detroit. But it does not stop LaMelo from rising the rankings in some of these lists, not just the offseason list that lets you know the NBA season is just right around the corner. We have another list just after 15 games of NBA action. How far did the guy go up the mountain here, Doug?
He's up to 27 in the Ringer rankings, which I did not know until yesterday that they were going to update throughout the season. That's nice. I think he was in the mid-50s. I'm trying to identify. I actually have it in a note somewhere. I'll check this in a minute. But, it was in like the mid-50s, and now he's up to 27, updated yesterday. And this is from Danny Chow of The Ringer. Well, LaMelo is the biggest riser in the top half of the rankings, suddenly knocking on the door of the top 25. Shouldering the kind of offensive burden Ball carries nightly should be no easy task, yet LaMelo does it with aplomb and a bleep-eating grin. That might have gotten him benched. His usage rating is trending toward one of the highest figures the league has ever seen. The only other players who have ever averaged the number of threes Ball is taking every night, never mind hitting them at a league average clip, which is what he's also doing, are Steph Curry and James Harden.
Yeah, those are the guys, right? Like that's, I was also looking at Luka when you go with the usage percentage. I want to just hang out there for a second. Are you surprised it's as high as it is? Because one, I guess you could be surprised in the sense that it's one of the highest figures we've ever seen. So unless you said LaMelo's going to make history with his usage percentage, then yeah, of course it's a surprise to you. But coming into the year, I think we talked a little more about Brandon Miller possibly handling the basketball more. Miles Bridges and Brandon. Now you have your offensive trio, the guys that are supposed to score the basketball a lot. And if I would have told you Trey Mann got off to the type of start that he did this year, then I think you would have expected that to not be just super duper crazy historically high. And yet here we are, despite most of those things still being true. Like Brandon's been in and out of the lineup with the glute strain. Miles Bridges has been in and out of the lineup with the bone bruise, but even still, it wasn't very long. They only missed like 3-4 games apiece. So even despite that, still LaMelo is up there with among the highest usage players that we've ever seen before.
Yeah, no, it doesn't surprise me, and I'll tell you why. Two things. I think the injuries do matter, particularly the Brandon Miller thing, because it happened so early. I think had Brandon Miller been able, to play those first few games fully healthy, maybe there would be a slight shift. But the biggest thing is not having Mark Williams and Nick Richards, because what that did is it turned all of those pick and roll opportunities, those roll opportunities, the LaMelo would look for another guy. it turned those into pick and roll ball handler opportunities for LaMelo Ball. And I've said it a couple of times now. You saw him early in the season, I think, look around and say, all right, I'm going to throw a few passes here. Up, okay, Grant doesn't catch it. Up, Moussa Diabate doesn't catch it. Up, Tidjane Salaun fumbled it. Okay, forget it. I'm just going to take it on my own. Mm-hmm. And so I think all of that comes together in this usage rating. But also, on top of that, I think you have a guy in LaMelo Ball who's missed a lot of games, over the past couple of seasons due to injury. So it shouldn't be a shock that he's going to come in and say, all right, I just signed my max deal. This is my team. I'm not injured anymore, feeling fully healthy. I'm going to take a couple shots here.
Yeah, get out of the way. I'm going to take more than a couple shots. Yeah, that makes sense too. Or maybe you would have just thought he'd ease into it, but LaMelo doesn't really ease into anything. He's going to go in and he's going to take those shots right off the rip. What are your other thoughts here on LaMelo rising to number 27? Where did he? God, what was it? It was way down there.
Okay, I promised I would look it up, and then I got too focused on what I was going to say.
Well, no, but remember we discussed him being so far down, and it was a spot where he wasn't all that far ahead of a Brandon Miller. Miles Bridges was in the mix, I believe, maybe with the ESPN list, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it was because nobody knew what to do with him, right? So I'm not surprised at all that he makes this big of a jump. In fact, I probably would have predicted it, that he would make this kind of jump, because we had been pushing all offseason. No, when he's out there, he's really good. And so the fact that he's just been healthy for the first 15 games, yeah, it makes sense that he would make the kind of jump that he did.
So I did find it. Ringer, he was 53. ESPN, he was 50. CBS had him the lowest at 58. And then Hoops Hype had him the highest at 44. But now, I don't know if they've updated their rankings. I doubt it. But Ringer has, and he's at 27. I do have a few more thoughts on the benching as I look over the reactions from the national media. I'll just say some of the reaction was good. I was listening to Sirius XM, the show I always forget the guy's name that does it with Sam Mitchell in the afternoons when I'm going to pick up the kiddo. That's the show that I listen to. And they did a good job discussing it, I thought. But there were some other shows that didn't do a great job. And I'm just thankful that Locked On is still investing in local, unbiased to whatever degree we can be unbiased. We're not paid by the team, so even though people accuse us of that all the time in the comments.
Oh, yeah, can't convince them.
We have never seen a dime from the team.
That's right.
So they've taken more of our money. So I'm thankful for Locked On. That's number one. The other thought that I had is that I still am shocked that this happened in Game 14. Like, it's not shocking to me that this would have happened eventually. I think this was always going to happen at some point. Lee and LaMelo were going to have to figure this thing out. I didn't know it would be as dramatic as benching a guy that's a crazy fourth quarter scorer in the fourth quarter of a close game. But I thought it would come to a head eventually. Just not in Game 14. That's the most shocking thing to me.
NBA Today talked about it on ESPN. I don't know if you saw that. It was Kendrick Perkins. It was Chiney Ogwumike. It was Malika Andrews, and also Brian Windhorst. I thought, for the most part, they actually did a decent job at it. Like Kendrick, it was Kendrick who you saw, I think, quote tweeted the Charles Lee comment after the game on why he benched LaMelo. Kendrick Perkins quote tweeted and said, Jesus Christ. So I was excited to see what Kendrick had to say, who is entertaining, if nothing else. But, Wendy also agreed that he would not have benched LaMelo, but also was talking about just the conversation around it all, right? Like, we could give our opinion on whether LaMelo should have been benched or not, and we did. We did so on a couple of different platforms via Weston Walker and Locked On Hornets yesterday. But the far more interesting combo is, you're right, it happening on Game 14, and it also happening with Charles Lee being a new coach, LaMelo being a fifth-year guy with all these injuries, but still being young, but trying to coach the most into him. Like, this is all very interesting just to assess what the hell happened. What did you just do? So here we are talking more about it, and we'll see what happens tonight against Detroit.
And I think his comments after the game, vague as they were, this is pure speculation, but it indicates to me that maybe he didn't know exactly what he was doing, in the sense of, like, I'm making a super calculated move. I think he was frustrated, very frustrated at what he was seeing on the court. And I do think there were some things I have to believe that there are some things that have happened that we haven't seen that led to this moment. And he was just super frustrated. And that's what he did. Because we've seen coaches do this before, and then they come to the presser afterwards and say, yeah, I did it. And this is why I did it.
Right.
That's not what happened in this case. There was this weird fumbling of like, Trey Mann, everybody's got a da-da-da, but like nobody bought that. And I think to me, it indicates that this was a really rash thing that happened. And that's what worries me a little bit about it.
Yeah, let's go into that more. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
He's everywhere!
More thoughts, yes, more thoughts on the LaMelo benching. Also, we'll focus on the rookie who had a nice game this last time out, Tidjane Salaun. We'll get to it all coming up next, LOH. All right, Doug, I need you on this one. Get ready. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time?
Game Time?
Okay, that was late, but that's fine. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Plus, there are plenty of perks to Game Time. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. with Game Time Picks. All-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, they give you a lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference, and they give you Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On Hornets, not Locked On NBA. Locked On Hornets now for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONHORNETS. Locked On Hornets for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time?
Game Time.
More Locked On Hornets ahead. I want to talk about if it was premeditated. Maybe not premeditated. That's not the right word. But how much thought went into the decision to bench LaMelo, and did he know what was happening in real time?
I think premeditated in the sense of like, and I can speak to this as a toddler dad of a dad of a three-nager right now. It's like one more time.
Yeah,
you're getting
time.
One more warning.
Right.
And then it's straight to bed for you.
Right. So in the sense of how rash this decision was, Wendy did discuss that too on NBA Today. And he said, when you bench LaMelo Ball and when you bench a star like that, like Charles knew what the fallout was going to be or what was going to happen afterwards. But I'm also kind of with you via the comments telling me something different, because I don't think that Charles would have said that had there been the right kind of thought on benching LaMelo. Maybe he did think about it and just have that answer ready to go and then moved on from it. He'll deal with it in the 3 minutes and 47 seconds later after the game is done. But you're right. The comments now pin you into this corner where you only can get out of it if you completely change your answer, because there's no way you can just continue to roll with the Trey Mann had the hot hand answer. It doesn't make any sense. You can play them together. Like, nobody bought it, and I think for good reason. And we've seen Charles frustrated with LaMelo in the past, so it would make sense that he benched LaMelo because he was frustrated. The other thing is, Charles was supposed to speak with Kyle Bailey on the Kyle Bailey show yesterday. Of course, that did not happen. So Charles Lee is speaking with Kyle today. So they moved it back. They only moved it back a day, though. Still, I imagine probably the extra day helps Charles Lee get his thoughts together. Time helps move past the sensitivity of it all. So, yeah, like, we're going to hear from Charles. I think he's been very honest until that comment, but I think he's been very honest at the podium speaking to media. I actually do have some hope that Charles Lee will give us some decent clarity on what his process was when he decided to bench LaMelo today, but we'll see.
Yeah, we will. But I want to talk about some other things that happened on the floor, including the rookie, Tidjane Salaun, nearly getting a double-double in this game, 11 points, 8 rebounds. I think the 11 is a career high. I'm not sure. Has he gotten double-digit scoring this season? I'm pretty sure that's a career high. And in slightly less minutes than Moussa Diabate, who had 0 points and 7 rebounds, had some good defensive plays. Diabate did as well. But we sort of oscillating with Diabate of these, like, sometimes he's a goose egg, sometimes he's a double-double threat.
Never
Tidjane,
in the rebound column, though. Never a goose egg in the rebound column.
Never. Tidjane, man, he looked offensively, he looked so good. I mean, there were some plays like running the break. There was one play where he went in between his legs, set up a guy, spin move through the lane, gets fouled. I mean, of those 11 points, I think he only took 2 field goals. The rest were him getting fouled and going to the line and actually hitting free throws, which is something he struggled a little bit with early in his career. I mean, or early in this season, I should say, his only career. But, man, just impressed with what Tidjane was able to do. He continues to learn very quickly how to operate in this NBA game.
Yeah, Tidjane did have, let me get this correct here. Tidjane did have his game high 9 rebounds against Philly, but he did have his points high with Brooklyn. So you're right, when he scored 11. Yeah, Tidjane, man, do those moves maybe take the pressure off of Dalton Knecht filling it up over there in LA with this is what the Hornets community is doing. That they are finding the early success rookie and they are saying, why didn't our team select him? Because I was this big fan, and this is what you do, right? You get confirmation bias right away. As somebody who said Dalton Knecht was going to be the star, he is doing very, very well with the Lakers, and now the Hornets made this big mistake by not taking Dalton Knecht. Does it ease the pain of watching Knecht hit 9 threes in a different uni?
Well, it's not just Knecht, though, right? I mean, I think what's bothering Hornets fans is you could take a number of guys like Klingon, relative to the Hornets' need right now, missing both of the centers. You could look at a guy like Jared McCain for Philly, who is absolutely lighting it up as well, and a lot of people loved him. He's looking like a huge steal for Philly. So there are a number of names that you can look at. The thing about Knecht is he's great offensively, still questions about his defense. He's playing on a team with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I don't want to take anything away from Knecht. He's doing a lot of things that I thought he would do coming out of college. But I think that on this team, it probably would have been a little bit more of a struggle to get some of those open shots, particularly because the Hornets, by virtue of missing both of their centers, you've just seen defenses, not just the Nets who press anyway, but you've seen defense after defense challenge the Hornets shooters at every turn. They're just not afraid because, again, there's not a roll threat. There's not a significant roll threat. And so they just attack the ball handlers and pick and roll. And now Dalton Knecht doesn't run a lot of pick and roll ball handler, but you've seen the ball movement of this team struggle because they'll blitz that ball handler and then the pass isn't as crisp off of that, kicking out to the corner or kicking out to the wing. So I think Dalton would have struggled a little bit more here. And the final thing for me on the Knecht issue, or really any other more experienced rookie that is doing well in the league, I think they're going to do well in year 1. But talk to me in year 5, once this, 18, 19 years old, youngest rookie in the league, once Tidjane Salaun catches up, he's showing me things right now that I go, man, when he locks it, if he locks it all in. Nah, you know what, forget it. When he locks it all in, this guy is doing stuff that you won't be able to scheme against. You will not be able to necessarily stop if he locks it all in. Whereas Knecht's going to be a really, really good role player in this league. That's not what I'm seeing from Tidjane. I'm seeing oh man, this guy's doing things that's going to be really tough to scheme against.
Yeah, Dalton Knecht is 23 years old. Did anybody expect Tidjane Salaun to be a better player year 1 in the NBA than Dalton Knecht? Because I did not. No. Even when he fell as late as he did. Jared McCain falling, now he's not 23 years old, but also he fell. And this is the classic case of why didn't our team select him? I know Dalton fell later than what anybody expected, but he did. It's LeBron James. If Dalton hits at this level for the next 6-7 years, then LeBron will be absolutely right too. But LeBron is correct in saying it's not that we saw something nobody else did. It's just that everybody else bleeped it up. Hornets. And we just didn't bleep it up when we selected Dalton. 16 other teams did that. Everybody loved Jared McCain, but it was everybody's second favorite option. It's like, well, I love McCain, but you can't take him at 5. Oh my God, Jared McCain, he's my favorite player in the draft, but you can't take him at 8. Well, one, maybe you can if you love him enough, but also it was everybody's second favorite prospect, and they're going to have to live with that. The interesting one to me, who were the guys that were in consideration that we knew of that we feel pretty damn good about? Reed Sheppard, Stephon Castle. Those are the two guys that we should really consider, because even if the Hornets didn't have a chance to select them, they could have traded up for him. And we know that they were taking those calls. We know that they were making those calls, and they were hoping, they were crossing their fingers, man, that Stephon was going to fall back to them. So what is Stephon doing? What is Reed doing? Reed Sheppard, 37% from 3, not a lot of opportunity. You got a lot of young players down there in Houston trying to find their way and hang on tight in a potential Giannis Milwaukee blow it up trade that Houston says they're not doing. We're not interested in Giannis Antetokounmpo. But with these young guys, like it's tough sledding. It's like G League stuff over there, with looking for the basketball. So we'll see about Reed, but also he's young. And Stephon Castle, he had a really nice outing the other day. All that to say, those are the two guys that I look at, maybe with a little bit of clinging, but those are the two guys I really look at as, man, the Hornets were interested in those players.
I'm glad they took the swing, especially, and this is hindsight 2020, but if, with the centers being out, with Mark and Nick on the mend, and I mean, who knows when either of those guys are going to come back. Like the prospects for this season aren't looking great. And so, yeah, I'd rather the situation be, well, we have this rookie who's learning very quickly and is like taking the ball out of guys' hands on defense when he can help side block. Got some other defensive issues for sure. Can run the break well, is shooting way better than I thought he would, knocking down open opportunities, and just has echoes of freakiness on some of these plays. Giannis.
There he is.
I'm just super excited for Tidjane Salaun. I'm not going to let 34 points or 37 points, whatever, from Dalton Knecht distract me from the idea that Tidjane Salaun can legitimately be a star in this league. It's just going to take some time.
All right, coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
The Hornets have their second game against the Detroit Pistons tonight. It's at the Spectrum Center. What do we expect? We'll talk about it in the final segment. Before we get to that Hornets-Pistons preview, I want to tell you about Chime. This episode is brought to you by Chime. We'll all hit a point where we realized it was time to make serious money moves. Take control of your finances by using a Chime checking account with features like no maintenance fees, fee-free overdraft up to $200, or getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. Chime helps you make progress with free fee overdraft up to $200, but you can also get spotted on debit card purchases and cash withdrawals. No monthly fees or maintenance fees. Plus, there are over 50,000 fee-free ATMs. Eligible members get complimentary boost to temporarily increase a friend's Spot Me limit as well. When you give me boost, they can boost you back to temporarily raising your limit as well. And so here's how it works. You can set up a direct deposit in your Chime account. After a qualifying direct deposit of $200 plus, Chime will notify you to enroll in Spot Me. That's SPOTME. With an activated debit card, Chime will spot you up to $200 when you exceed your balance, and your next direct deposit is applied to your negative balance. Chime never charges fees or interest for using Spot Me. Make your fall finances a little greener by working towards your financial goals with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes. That's it. At chime.com/NBA. That's chime.com/NBA. Chime feels like progress. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Hornets, Pistons. The Hornets have already played the Pistons this year in their first game. They got a win just by one single point, 108-107 in this one.
Brandon
Miles
Miller,
Bridges.
exciting
It was very exciting. 108-107, just the single point. This is the game that Miles Bridges went off, and so Miles finished with 27 points in this one. And then once you got to the fourth quarter, things got down to the wire, and Brandon Miller made the tip shot at the buzzer. We got a great call from Eric Collins. We got a great call from Sam Farber. This is a play-by-play highlight game because of the way that Brandon Miller was able to take care of this one. What do you expect this go around against Detroit, Doug?
Oh, man, I'm getting distracted. I'm still watching Tidjane Salaun highlights. He ran a break. His first bucket of the game, he ran a break and hit this floater over the entire defense. And then he relocates really great off of a man drive and hits a deep pull-up. And it looked clean. Like a guy that size, that raw, hitting several feet away from the three-point line. That's crazy, man.
All righty.
He's doing...
We've turned it up.
Stuff.
We've turned up the volume on the Salaun love for Dougie B. I'm with it, man. I'm embrace your hero.
I live in reality. I mean, there were plays also in this game where like he catches the roll from LaMelo, and instead of going straight up with it, he like tries to pump fake, and the entire defense converges on him and strips it. Now, in a game where I thought a lot of Hornets were getting punked, when he got stripped, he just like pushed the guy over. So like, I like the physicality there, but I would have loved him not to get stripped. And there were some defensive issues as well. But like, I live in reality with Tidjane Salaun, but I'm also living, I can live in both worlds. I can live in the dreamland of what he will be and live in the reality of what he is now. Well,
against the Pistons, the last time out, he played 12 minutes and he hit his only field goal attempt. Remember, tight game, so they needed it. He hit a 3 in this game, and it was the only field goal attempt that he took. So nice job, Tidjane, contributing to the win. Will he do so tonight? And if not, who does?
Well, I think it's not about Tidjane. It's going to be about Jalen Duren, because Jalen Duren went out with an injury in that last game that they played. And it was like in the first, I think it happened in the first couple of minutes, but he tried to give it a go and couldn't. But since he's been back, he's averaging like 12 plus rebounds for the Detroit Pistons, who I think have gotten some decent wins over the last 5. I think they're 3 out of their last 5, and they've gotten some decent wins. Cade's playing a lot better.
They're 7-9 this year.
Yeah, I mean they're getting better, and Jalen Duren's been a big part of that. Cade's obviously been a huge part of that. He's a triple-double threat every night. So the rebounding game, it's important every game for the Hornets to overperform what they should do rebounding wise. It's going to be crucial here because you can't let Duren dominate you in second chance points. And then off this Brooklyn game, what do we say? They got punked. It didn't look like they were able to match the physicality of the defense that the Nets were throwing at them. Like the Hornets proved and have proven over the past couple of games that they can get off to better starts. That they struggled to do that early in the year. LaMelo is looking for his teammates more. He's getting Brandon Miller going in the first quarter. He's getting Josh Green going in the first quarter. Miles Bridges being back helps. Okay, you solve that problem. The Hornets have an issue where they solve one problem and create another. They solve the problem in the first quarter. They create this problem where they can't punch back once a team adjusts to that. They solved the turnover problem that they have, but they created this issue where the ball's not moving enough. And so, that is what it is with a young team trying to learn with a new coach and no centers. But those are the issues that they're going to have to solve if they want to win this game.
Yeah, looking at this box score, Taj Gibson started in this game. He actually had 3 of 4 field goal attempts hit for him, scored 7 points, grabbed 4 rebounds. But I'm looking at this box score, Doug, and I'm just looking at how they barely escaped, which is representative of the 108-107 final score. One more rebound. Remember, the Hornets got the rebounding lead with Brandon Miller's game-winning offensive rebound turned into a tap-in. The Hornets were 16 of 16 from the free throw line in this game against Detroit. And Detroit went to the line. They shot 9 times, and they only made 5 free throws. So 11 more free throws made on 7 more free throws attempted for the Hornets. They won in that area of the basketball game as well. Didn't shoot particularly well in this one, but they barely escaped. Like I like Detroit. I think this is a team we talked about it the first time around, but if you're looking to make that step where they feel like a Rockets light this year, the way that they operated this offseason, overpaying for vets, Tobias Harris, pretty nasty contract, but we know what we're trying to do. We're trying to get to the play-in and give our guys just a tiny, tiny bit of postseason experience, because it's time now with a guy like Cade Cunningham, and it's probably time now with a guy like Jalen Duren, and Jaden Ivey has been playing well. So let's overpay for Tobias. Let's bring in Malik Beasley off of the bench. Like they've got a solid bench group, especially with your boy Beef Stew. Yeah, this is going to be one where it's going to be kind of Brooklyn-y. Brooklyn not playing all that bad, decent team. This is not one that the opposition is going to be some walkover because of what you expected preseason. Like the Hornets are going to have to battle for the second game in a row against a team that maybe you originally thought is an easy chalked up win.
And those starting guards are the story. I mean, Cade Cunningham has averaged almost 17 points per game, 6.5 assists and 5 rebounds against Charlotte. Jaden Ivey, 16 points, 4.6 assists, 2.7 career rebounds against Charlotte in 7 games. So what do they do there? It'll be interesting. Does LaMelo take the challenge of Cade Cunningham? Do they put him on Ivy? Do they try to hide him and put him on Tim Hardaway and use Josh Green? Brandon Miller, I think has been doing some better things defensively in terms of disrupting passing lanes. I think he still is getting scorched by smaller, quicker matchups, still struggling a little bit to stay in front of the more like elite guards in the league, but he's been performing a little bit better defensively. So, yeah, I mean, this is not going to be an easy one for Charlotte, but certainly they've been competitive in nearly every game that they've been in. So I'm not going to count them out of this one for sure, but they've got to lock it in, particularly on the defensive end of the floor.
Last thing for me, remember they defended Cade pretty well. He was pretty inefficient for much of this game. He was only 9 of 23, didn't hit a single three-pointer. So can you give me some Josh Green, Cody Martin defense on the perimeter against some of those guys? Trey Mann, when he comes into the game, where's the defense coming from up top? But you did it against Cade. Nice job. Let's see if we can replicate that. And if you can slow down Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham, then I would chalk that up as a win for the Hornets. You just got to take care of everything else. All right, that'll do it. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free. We're available anywhere you get your podcast. That does include YouTube. There's Doug Branson. Find him on everyhornetsboxscore.com, writing a whole bunch of stuff about the Hornets alongside David Walker. He's also talking about the national NBA landscape on Locked On NBA. And you can also check out the daily Hornets newsletter, lockedondaily.com. Sign up today. I'm Walker Mehl. Listen to me, WFNZ, every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Sports Radio 92.7 FM. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.